Ink Ribbon. Offering the unique perspective of a child during a zombie outbreak, Sherry Birkin was introduced in Resident Evil 2, and even though we haven't seen as much of her as we'd like, she has been an integral character behind the scenes of the Resident Evil storyline. Now, for characters like Sherry who aren't as prominent in the series, I can't easily make a list of 50 facts, so instead let me introduce the first of a new shorter format lists. Here are 25 facts about Sherry Birkin. In Resident Evil 2, if you play Leon A, Claire B, Sherry never gets infected with the G-Virus, meaning that the canon scenario layout must be Claire A, Leon B. Her outfit in the original game is a modified version of a type of Japanese schoolgirl uniform known as Sailor Fuku, but with shorts instead of a skirt. In the Resident Evil 2 remake, Sherry's locket was changed to no longer contain a sample of the G-Virus, as it always has. Instead, it functions as a special backup key to open a chamber that contains samples of the G-Virus. Sherry was born in 1986, making her 12 years old during the events of Resident Evil 2. Sherry's blood type is O. Sherry is especially hated by speedrunners due to the fact that she has a completely random chance of dropping her leg while climbing up. She also forces Claire to move a bit slower, since if Claire gets too far ahead of her, she sits on the floor until you come back to get her. This tradition is carried on in the remake, since Sherry's section of the game can be easily ruined if you make a mistake. In 1999, in Japan only, a drama album was released, and among the tracks was one called The Little Runaway Sherry, which tells an alternate story where, after escaping the lab, Claire and Leon are confronted by men trying to steal the G-Virus, but Sherry escapes into the forest and meets another girl named Meg, and they escape together. This story is not canon. In the S.D. Perry novelization of Resident Evil 2, Sherry is featured prominently as a character in the book and given a much bigger spotlight. Even though they had a close bond in the game, Sherry has never reunited with Claire in any other game since Resident Evil 2, which is odd since she has reunited with Leon and even Ada in Resident Evil 6.
Leon?
Sherry?
In Darkside Chronicles, Sherry is voiced by Laura Bailey, who also voiced Angela Miller in Regeneration and Helena Harper in Resident Evil 6. The original voice actress for Sherry is Lisa J, credited as Lisa Yamanaka, and is an advocate for actors with disabilities, even receiving an award from the city of Toronto for her work. Since Lisa was a child herself during the recording, the voice director did not tell her specifically what happened to Sherry in order to protect her from the more mature implications of it all. In case there was any confusion, the way that William injects his embryo into Sherry is via the mouth through forced ingestion, and the embryo attaches to the internal organs before consuming them, as demonstrated by Ben and Chief Irons. In the scrapped Resident Evil 1.5, Sherry had a different appearance, looking even younger and lacking a headband. There's also suggestion that she had no relation to William or Annette. Also, instead of constantly running away from Claire, she served as more of a helper by unlocking doors for her by crawling through vents. She also spends most of the game with the scrapped character, John. In Resident Evil Outbreak, there is an SP item called Silver Framed Photo Stand that can be found within the Umbrella Labs. The description says it's a photo of Sherry and Annette. Sherry and Jake have a lot of parallels, including their fathers William Birkin and Albert Wesker both being evil Umbrella employees that are obsessed with research, as well as both of them being hunted for their blood. Jake's for the cure to the C-Virus, and Sherry for her G-Virus antibodies. Unlike the original game, where Sherry can be killed by dogs, flying bugs, and zombies, in the Resident Evil 2 remake, she is virtually invincible, and the only enemy she ever has to deal with is Chief Irons. In addition to this, she has a unique game over screen saying "You are trapped" instead of the usual "You died." In Resident Evil 6, Sherry has a lot of gameplay advantages over other characters, since her quickshot ability is the fastest, and her contextual melee attacks are the most varied. She is also equipped with a burst handgun that fires 3 rounds and a stun rod that shocks enemies, making it very easy for Sherry to kick some serious ass. Despite her youthful appearance in Resident Evil 6, Sherry is actually older than Piers, Helena, and Jake. Carla Radams was responsible for engineering the C-Virus and used Sherry's G-Virus-laced blood to do it. After Claire left Sherry with Leon, Sherry ended up first in government custody and then lived under close watch with Derek Simmons, mainly to protect her from people like Wesker and other threats. In Resident Evil 6, there is a file called Life Without Freedom that details how during her protective custody with Simmons, Claire came to visit, as well as visiting as often as she could to offer emotional support during all of the tests and experiments that Sherry had to suffer through. Claire was also the only civilian trusted to know where Sherry was being kept. It wasn't until Wesker was killed that she was allowed into a more normal life and consequently was offered a position within the BSAA as a security operative. After being infected with the G-Virus and then being given the vaccine, Sherry was given lifelong regenerative abilities, allowing her to rapidly heal. Among her new abilities are the ability to heal injuries, though the more severe the injury, the more exhausted she becomes while healing. She also has extreme resistance to pretty much all viruses, basically being immune to them. And she also stopped aging around 20 years old and will most likely retain her youthful appearance as long as she lives.
What the hell?
And that is it for this list. Know of any other facts about Sherry? Let me know in the comments. What other video game characters would you like to see a list like this on? Let me know, and if you want more videos like this, you should check out my other character facts videos. And if you learned something, be sure to hit that like button and subscribe if you haven't already. Until next time, I'm Kai Morgan, and as always, thanks for watching Ink Ribbon. And a very special thank you to all of my Patreon supporters and YouTube members. Your extra support means the world to me and helps me keep making content for you guys.